Well, hello, everyone. I am Marty Rasmussen with Action Coach, and I am thrilled to be able to introduce our next guest, Dario Otero. And he is with Youth Lens 360. And he and I have been getting to know each other, and I am thrilled to have him on the show. And I know you will be too, especially as you hear about his story. Dario, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this one. What a great story in terms of just kind of how this business grew up out of your own personal experience, but more importantly, what you're doing in the marketplace and giving youth an opportunity to really be able to identify and harness some of the gifts and talents that they've got, and how you're bringing that to benefit them and the marketplace. So I'd love to hear more about it. Can you tell us how this whole journey of yours started?
Oh, I don't want to go too far back, but I was a young kid, first grade, and I actually was placed in a special education program at an early age.
Hmm.
Dyslexia was the reason, and so I had a real challenging time going through school. Um, Fast forward to leaving school, I was getting to know the camera, video production, doing different things. And I would do everything from shoot music videos to, work with local nightclubs to kind of create their marketing promotion stuff. And at the time, I stumbled upon this amazing school that actually worked with youth that I saw similar to me, right? Like young people that were just trying to figure out in like that traditional school model. It was here in town, the High School for Recording Arts in St. Paul. And what was really cool is I came in working with kids that were in the special education department, much like me, but were trying to figure out what they wanted to do next. And I brought my camera in, started teaching video production services and trying to take them outside of the school to have an experience using the video camera. And what I realized right away was they brought a ton of talent to the table. Companies needed these young people to tell their stories, right? And I was like, whoa, this is a business, right? This is actually could work as a business outside of the school. And so I saw these young people that were leaving high school, didn't know what they wanted to do, but they had just delivered on amazing storytelling, creating music, shooting videos. And so I was like, I can't let that talent go to waste. And so I started my company in 2016, Youth Lens 360. We're a video production company, but we do corporate, philanthropic, nonprofit. We work with bigger industry leaders like Winnebago Industries to tell their stories. So we've done a lot of work in the community at a high level. Same young people that traditionally didn't succeed through school and had some challenges are the ones delivering on these stories for these companies.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. I like the way you describe. I was looking at your website and kind of your description of yourself, and it says that Youth Lens 360 came from your own experience as a child, lost in a blind spot within the educational system, which I think you just described. But what a positive spin on something that could have been a pretty negative or even traumatic experience as a young person coming up through the education system. But boy, you sure seem to have turned it into something really positive for yourself and for the young folks that you're helping.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Marty, I saw myself as a leader every day I stepped outside of the school. Sometimes when I would come into the school environment as a student, I was just told what I could not do. And so I just had two worlds that I lived in, right? Like you're outside of school, like my family depended on me. I was a leader in the community. I was always entrepreneurial spirited. Go inside the school and it was like, hey, we're just gonna let you watch a movie today because we got to move on with other students that are succeeding. And so like these two worlds collided for me. And so when I
Mhm.
started to see those two worlds in other young people, I was like, wow, all these talented skills, terrible, education record, right? Like look
Yeah,
just like how I looked on paper. So
yeah. But you
yeah.
saw something in them that could be really developed and grown in that. So now this is not an educational program, really.
Right. Right.
It's really helping them identify how to use the technology and then bringing that to the marketplace. Is that right?
Absolutely. So what we do now with storytelling, I mean, we're able to do a lot of corporate contracts and these young people know how to use the technology better than us when they start, right? Like they're born with iPads in their hands, like so you have, amazingly talented young people that know how to use this high-end technology. They manipulate it in different ways than your traditional video production crew would to deliver faster pace, higher quality. I mean, some of the stuff that we do sometimes, I'm like, how do we, why does it look so much better than this other company? And I think it's just because young people are willing to go to YouTube University, figure out how to use this equipment at the highest level,
Yeah.
and they try stuff. They have unlimited hours to just go out and try new things with these, and where other video production companies may say, hey, I clocked in at 5, I clocked in at 9, I'm out at 5, right? And these young people are like, hey, I'm staying up way too late at night, learning how to make this camera work at the highest level. What is something different that I can do? And so they have that hunger that I think allows them to be able to really say, how do I take this to the next level? And that's why, everything we see now, commercials, they're all catered towards young people. They all have their creativity written all over it. And so that's just who they are.
Yeah. Well, what a tremendous opportunity for them to have someone like you that's willing to nurture them. But I want to go back to the phase in your life where you went from you being an educator, right, to
Yeah,
actually going into business. I just think that there's so many people that today have gone from whether it was due to the pandemic or any other reason, gone from corporate life into trying to be an entrepreneur.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you learned in that process, and was there anything that could shorten the learning curve for others?
Well, I always tell people if you want to hire somebody for your company, hire somebody who's entrepreneur spirited, right? Like, I don't think that necessarily everybody should go out and try to start a business, but I
Mm,
do think that it's really important that we start to look at the spirit of entrepreneurship, the mindset of entrepreneurship is something that we want to obtain in our company. And so at the time working for this education institution, I was still doing entrepreneurial work. We were working with State Farm Insurance because they were trying to tell the story about the 26-second dropout rate. Every 26 seconds in America, somebody was dropping out. Who better than to come to the young people I was working with, who most of them had dropped out at the time, to tell this story, but to tell it in a way that wasn't just negative, right? Like it was like, here's the opportunity that we have in this country, right? And like we were able to do that at a level where State Farm got us in front of LeBron James, and we were talking to Arnie Duncan, who at the time was the education secretary. They changed the All-Star game shot clock from 24 to 26 seconds to represent that number. I mean, like these were the ideas of young people, creating the logo for the campaign that ended up being worn for all over for like 6 years. So, I mean, at the time, uh, my entrepreneurial skills were being used. Although I was using them in education, I was teaching, math from an entrepreneurial perspective, right? Anything that was going to engage young people. But I made my jump when I started seeing those checks come in to the school from State Farm, United Way, from different people we're working with, but it couldn't go directly back into the pockets of the young people that were producing
mm,
stuff. We could do
mhm.
pizza parties. We could take them on trips to LA. We could go, buy equipment that they could check out. But these young people needed money. And so that's when I turned on my entrepreneur, like, all right, we can do this outside of the school, still engage young people that are coming through the same pipeline, but it's a real company with real revenue dollars. And there's contracts out there that are endless between city, state, county, corporate entities. And so that's how we built our company.
Yeah, and you have kind of a targeted age group that you're working with too, right?
Yep. I target the 18 to 25. I really target young people that don't know that next step that they want to take after high school because I feel like those are the young people that were creative, almost too creative to be to fit within those four brick and mortar walls. And they're on social media creating TikToks, right? They're leading the industry in what we see on Instagram, but in the classroom they just don't fit in sometimes. And so I target those young people 18 to 25 and I harness that talent and also help develop their talent so that they can run their own company. So a lot of young people on our staff, freelance photographers, they do wedding videos, birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, everything, right? Like they are the ones that show up and service the community as their own individual entity, but I say we form like Voltron when we come together sometimes because or Transformers or whatever age group you're in. I don't know, Pokemon, but we come together and we all work together because when we work together, they're able to share skills. And what you'll see a lot of times is young people that are having their own contracts outside of Youthlands, they'll hire each other, people that they've worked with on
Mm.
projects that we've worked with on together. And so I just believe we can all share that space. And there's just endless amounts of opportunity for anybody that's coming through our pipeline.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the at Action Coach, the abundance mindset, and that means that we're all in this together, and there's no need to get too possessive about things because the more we share, the more we work together, the more we're all gonna benefit from it. Sounds like you do the same, come from that same approach.
Definitely.
So quite a journey. You saw a market opportunity, well, moving into this space, and that has so many societal benefits in addition to
Yes.
the business and all those types of things. So where does this go? Tell us what the journey looks like in the next, I don't know, let's say the next 5 years.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So for the next 3 years, we'll be starting a cohort that starts in we're starting it June 15th, 19th. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of my dates. And that is going to kick off for 3 years. So every 6 months, we'll have six new youth coming from the community that will start in a 6 month training program.
Mhm.
And so we'll do that on over and over for 3 years. And that's just because we have to develop our own pipeline, right? Like we've kind of been doing this as in, yeah, come along, right? Learn how to use the equipment, but we're actually being real strategic about certifying these young people, so that if they wanted
Mm.
to go to another video production company, if they needed to fly out to LA, if they want to work on a crew with the, film crew for a movie, they'll have that certification from us to be able to step out and say, I know all the ins and outs, and we also we'll give them mental health services, financial literacy services, all of those stuff so that they can be employable, right? Because young people come out sometimes and they're like, I don't even have a bank account to be paid, and I'm not
Mm.
trying to pay you through Cash App. So it's like we have to get those things in order so that what I call like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, so that you can be employable, because you can have all the talents in the world, but a company might look at you like, well, you're not employable. And so we have to figure out how to fill those gaps. And so that's part of the next 3 to 5 years for us, is really making that program robust. But as far as a company, we're looking for those longer contracts, right? Those 1 years, 2 years. Let us tell your story over time. But also, it would be nice to land a Nike, Adidas commercial or something like that one day. So, I mean, we have these like passion projects that were like, what if we took over Nike's next rollout of their next athlete that they draft, right? Or that they pick up that just got drafted or something, right? Like give us the opportunity to tell their story, about their new shoe that's coming out, or new tennis racket or golf set or whatever it is. Give us the ability to be able to tell that story. So we that's like one of those dreams, that may come true soon. But what we're doing now, we're servicing those corporate entities and philanthropic entities telling their stories.
And is there so I'm gonna keep believing positively on the Nike and
Let's
related
do
types
it.
of projects for you. Seriously, let's think big about this. And you've gotten some great recognition in the community as well, which is great to see that people are recognizing you for what you do, both in the community that you just described, but also as a business leader and a CEO yourself. So that's amazing to me. So is there a particular industry that you prefer to work with, or size of company? Maybe just in case the audience is like, hey, I heard a great story here. I wonder if I can, hire you to work with them and that kind of stuff. I just want to make sure that people know what they can expect.
No, I appreciate that. So for years, for the last 3 to 4 years, we've been working really well with education institutions and foundations, right? Because they're constantly telling stories. We had our first last year, our first opportunity to work with Winnebago Industries, which what I would say is the biggest company that we ever worked with. And I felt, I don't know if I wouldn't say fear, right? But it's a little intimidating when you're like, okay, this is a major company, right? They have locations all across the country. They have their own in-house videography team.
Mm.
Why are they talking to us? And so, it was real apparent that they needed to put out a message, and they were trying to change the landscape on what they were talking about. And they found us as a company through another company and said, we would like to continue to work with you to tell our story. So we did a lot of work with them in the last year, and it just opened the door to us to be able to say, like, can we continue this conversation with an Eco Lab? Can we talk to a US bank? Can we talk to some of these bigger companies? So they're on our radar as far as people we're going to reach out to. And the belief of this, like, you can't get to the right person in those companies. I think we kind of like got past that myth. And now that we
Mm.
kind of broke into that world, it's like, okay, well, they all kind of hang together. So it's like, introduce us to the next big company. And so
Yeah.
we have no we have no plan to just only focus on those bigger Fortune 500 or 100 companies, but it is nice to work with them. but to answer your question in full, we just love to work with companies that align strategically with our alignment and just in what we believe in love and leading with love and just care. And you could do a social impact. You don't have to be a nonprofit to make an impact in the community. And so we love working with companies like that that are doing some sort of good for the community, environment, something. So those are people that we love to work with.
That's good because that takes it out of an industry, it takes it out of
Yeah.
a revenue size, all that kind of stuff. It's really the alignment, and that's fantastic. Well, I know I want to be sensitive to your time because you've got. I think you came out of a meeting just for this conversation, which we're grateful for. But you know, one of the things that you just said that I just want to highlight on, and if you want to add to it, please do. But the myth of not being able to get to the right people in some of these big companies, how did you overcome that? Because I think that's a mindset that a lot of people come from.
Yeah, I mean, the 6 degrees of separation thing is so real. It's just how do you want to approach it, right? Like I just believe that I gotta spend a certain amount of my time either going to a networking event, creating my own networking event that I tell people to come to, you know, just rubbing shoulders at the coffee shop, like going to places where you know people are that you want to meet. And so I've just successfully done that. And you know, it's not always easy because not everybody's an outgoing person. I'm kind of an outgoing person. But
Mhm,
there is these other groups and things that you could do, like joining a board. I worked on a couple of boards, was able to meet the person that introduced me to the person that introduced me to the person. But I think the biggest lesson learned for me, and one I could tell over and over, there's that story of the janitor treating the janitor like the CEO.
mhm.
And I stop every day. I talk to the security guard on the way out. I talk to the garbage man if that's putting garbage away. I talk to everybody, and you'll be surprised how many of those people are the ones that introduce you to those people that you think you need to meet, right? It's like the people that are doing the work day to day that some people may look down on. I just hold them up really high, and I just believe that we're all humans, right? There's a certain level of humanity, and like stopping to talk to people like that, you would be surprised how they have an end to that next level. Like the guy that I work with at the suit store that helps me pick out like a suit and a dress shirt, so do also the CEOs of other companies go talk to him, right? So like after I told him about my business, he's like, "Oh, I know the CEO of this place and the CEO of that place." So it was just amazing to me to see like, you know, you just got to treat everybody with love and like
Yeah.
don't look past and walk past some of these people that are on street corners or in your building that have a lower level job or whatever as perceived by community, but like they hold and retain a lot of opportunities for you too.
Well, that I think is, a huge lesson that has been easily, maybe forgotten, right? I mean, I think in today's society, it's, you know, we went from the pandemic and being all cooped up, and now we're back in the street on the street again. We're in the coffee shops
Yeah,
and the soup makers and that kind of stuff. So it's good to be back out there again. But I think, you know, overcoming that mindset of I can't get to that person, but it really
right.
is depending on how we treat people, and that's going to come back to us for sure. So,
So true. So true.
well, that's fantastic. Well, just maybe one last question for you. I'm
Sure.
sure there's a bunch of people in the audience that would love to get to know you better, or maybe even consider working with you. And I can't guarantee a Nike exec on the line, but you never know, right?
Never
So,
know.
would you be able to share with the audience the best way for them to reach out to you?
Sure. Yeah. So for me, Dario Otero on LinkedIn is probably the best. I love using LinkedIn as a platform to meet people. You know, my company is online at LinkedIn as well, Youth Lens 360. And then I would say like if you want to see some of our work and kind of see what we do, we put some really cool stuff out on Instagram at Youth Lens 360 on Instagram. And you know, we just, you know, that's a great place to connect with me as well. So Dario Otero, I think it's like the underscore thing at Instagram. There's only so many Dario, so it shouldn't be hard to find Dario. so, so yeah, you can find me at all those places.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Really grateful for you telling the story and just being open and transparent about who you are and what you do. I think that authenticity really speaks loudly, and I know I learned a lot. I'm sure the audience has too. So I look forward to staying in touch and hopefully have a chance to go even deeper in this relationship as well. So thanks for joining us, Dario. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Marty. Appreciate it.